get the intro.
Welcome everybody to WiseTake.com's MMA DFS podcast. I'm your host, Steve. You can find me on Twitter at L_Steve_O. And I am joined by the always amazing Wigsplitter. You can find him on Twitter at Jeff Po. And Saturday night features a solid MMA DFS card. UFC Fight Night Jacare versus Brunson 2. If you are not a subscriber, head on over to WiseTake.com. Check out our premium MMA pack. It's only $4.99. If you'll gain access to premium chat, Wigsplitter's premium article detailing fight breakdown with his picks on each fight, who's gonna win, GPP, and cash line suggestions. Good morning, Wigsplitter. What is up, man?
Oh, you know, man, it's a nice, bright, early morning, 3:50 a.m. here on the West Coast, just hanging out with my boy El Stevo, coast to coast, getting ready to chop it up of UFC Fight Night, Souza versus Brunson 2.
Yeah, man. This was also looking, I gotta tell you, the opening offerings from UFC, at least for this year, actually pretty good, man. I'm really excited about a lot of these cards that they're putting right at the beginning of the year. They're just going one after another. I think what is 7 weeks of straight MMA on the weekend. That's pretty awesome. But let's get right into it, man. After last week's incredible UFC 220, you know, I don't know what else to say. Miocic, EC, they killed it last week. I mean, definitely proved a lot of the haters wrong and derailed the UFC fight hype train.
Yeah.
That's another. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that on the pod this weekend. But going right now, we started with UFC Fight Night, Jacare Brunson 2. I'm actually really excited for this fight because the last fight was kind of what do you want to call it? I guess a lot of people thought maybe Jacare didn't win that fight against Brunson. I believe it was a unanimous decision, and he ended up I think just stopping Brunson from getting back in the win column after a five-fight win streak that he broke against Robert Whittaker, the current interim champ. So this is a top three, top four fighters in the middleweight division fight. So I'm really looking forward to that main event. Just kind of see how the middleweight division's setting up. But let's start from the UFC fight pass prelims. And we got one that just got added yesterday. I think early today. Austin Arnett versus Corey Sandhagen. What do you got for me, Wig? I don't know too much about these guys. This was just added.
Yeah, it was just added today because it wasn't on there yesterday, and it sort of threw me for a loop because I always go back and double check UFC.com just to see if they throw any curveballs, and they did. Austin Arnett versus Corey Sandhagen. From what I understand, I had to go back and look, and I was like, man, this Arnett guy looks familiar. And then I realized he was the guy that Brandon Davis beat on Dana White's Contender Series to make it into this fight, this last fight that he had on the last card, which was, who was it? Let's see, it was Brandon Davis versus Bochniak.
Oh, Kyle Bochniak. I remember we here.
Yeah, Kyle Bochniak, Brandon Davis. Yeah, so Brandon Davis was the guy who beat Arnett to get onto the big show. So Arnett's making his UFC debut coming off of a loss on Dana White's Contender Series, going up against Corey Sandhagen. Honestly, I'm going to have to figure out... find some video on Sandhagen because I'm not too familiar with him. And like I said, it was a last-minute type thing. Arnett didn't necessarily look that good going up against Davis. Davis is one of those guys that comes in to the fight and he'll like wave you in and want to like bait you into a brawl. And Arnett was sort of willing to do that. His salary is $7,900 on DraftKings, and Sandhagen is $8,300. Both of them have decent records. when it comes to their fighting, but like I said, I'm gonna have to dig more deeper into it. And when my premium article comes out on Friday, I'll have a little more uh, knowledge on both these fighters. But as of now, I couldn't even tell you if I was leaning Arnett or Sandhagen because I don't really know.
Yeah, no,
So
this
let's
one's
go
too
ahead.
new for me too.
Yeah,
So we'll
let's
go
go ahead and
right.
move on to the next one.
Yeah, the next one is also on UFC Fight Pass early prelims is Nico Price versus George Sullivan at welterweight. George Sullivan sounds familiar. I think he was at one time. I think he was probably in like the lightweight division or something. It seems like he's moving up. I haven't done all my research. I'll definitely be more in depth this weekend on with and especially with your write up on all this. But I could have sworn I think he took some time away from the fight game. I haven't seen this guy in a long time.
Yeah,
I guess
man.
so. So am I right in saying that
You
he
are
was?
correct. I
Yeah.
want to say he was at 155, but he is a two-time USADA failure.
Oh.
And it's not like, like, oh, I messed up or, I ate some tainted meat, uh, whatever it is. Honestly, though, like he's up in age. Believe he's like 37 or 38 years old. And, most guys post USADA up in that age. And we saw that with Gleison Tebow this past weekend. They're
Yeah.
not necessarily the same, but even pre USADA, it's not like he was a great fighter either. So you can't really expect too much from somebody. It's not like they're going to get better.
No,
Post
not
USADA.
with that far of a far not being that far gone. I mean, I'm
And
hoping
just
that,
like, yeah, and then Nico Price, on the other hand, he went up against Vicente Luque, and when you catch that guy on the wrong day and he's firing on all pistons, he can pretty much take anybody out, and that's what happened to Nico Price. Before that, Nico Price was on fire. I think he reeled off like 5 or 6 wins, or he was actually undefeated at 10-0. I think he had one no contest, and I think it was a drug failure, but it was for marijuana. It wasn't like it was for steroids, so
oh God. All right,
no big.
they need to clear
No.
that up. If not, I'm pretty sure both of the Diaz brothers would be would be fighting
I
a lot
mean,
more often.
yeah, I mean, honestly though, like, I mean, it's a whole nother debate, but
Yeah.
if these guys are using it for recovery and pain relief, I don't see that's the big deal. I mean, I remember pre-USADA days. I think Corey Lieben was like known to be like high on OxyContin going into a fight. So if you
Ooh.
can't feel pain, like how are you,
Yeah.
like okay, all of a sudden, okay, he's taking it for pain.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just sort of awkward. Nico Price's salary on DraftKings is 9,000. He's the fourth highest um, fighter, I believe. Here, let me double check so I'm not completely wrong. One, two, three. Yeah, he's the fourth highest fighter on the roster. And let's see, what's his name? Sullivan is. He is 7,200. Um, Honestly, I couldn't roster Sullivan at all. I mean, even if he was known to be a clean fighter, I wouldn't want to roster him up going up against a guy like Price, who, yes, he did get his first loss, and I could see that he's, I think he was humbled by it, and I think he was probably going to come in, man on a mission type thing, and want to push to get back in that win column.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, especially after that. I didn't know that about George Sullivan, so you know me, I'm already rooting against him. One time you can say it's a mistake. A couple times you're just yeah. So
Yeah,
let's go right on because I'm gonna go into a rant.
yeah.
But all right, now actually going on the Fox Sports One prelims, we got Vink Pichel and Joaquim Silva at 155 pounds lightweight. This one's kind of a pick'em for me. They're both actually dudes that are fighting that have fought people, if I'm not mistaken, recently, as recent as I think as October. And I'm trying to think, is this too many fights in my head? But I believe that they're both coming off of wins.
Correct.
And then nobody notable yet, but so this one should actually be pretty good. I mean, you got guys with the exact same record from the U.S. and from Brazil. I'm still down. I gotta watch a little bit more fight video on these guys to probably give a little bit more insight. But that one I think should be actually a pretty good fight. I won't be surprised at all. Pretty young guys. Like I said, this card has a lot of potential in it. What's your take?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vince Pichel, he's actually coming off a win over Damian Brown, who had a fight of the night, like slobber knocking, straight barn burning punch fest with Frank Camacho, who's we're going to talk about later on in the card. But they literally went 3 rounds of just nonstop exchanging blows. So with Vince Pichel knocking him out in the first round, that says a lot because I mean both those guys, Camacho and Brown, like they literally, I want to say they threw an insane amount of punches. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so Frank Camacho threw 154 significant strikes in that fight, and it was a 3-round decision. I mean, both of them threw over 100 punches, and it was, I mean, it was a daily fantasy dream to be able, if you were smart enough to stack those. I had both of them in opposite lineups just because I knew that it was not necessarily an evenly matched fight, but I thought it was going to have enough opportunity for both fighters to score very favorably for their price. Now, what's his name? Vince Pichel salary is I had a brain spasm there.
Yeah, so I was like,
Vince Pichel's salary is 8,100, and he's a -110 favorite. And Joaquim Silva is 8,100 as well, and it's a +110. He's a -110 favorite as well. Both these guys are decent, solid strikers with decent grappling. Both of them have power. Vince Pichel has the upper hand when it comes to wrestling, like the takedowns.
mm-hmm.
That's sort of exciting to me because, I mean, if this does turn into like just a straight out war, I could see Pichel maybe landing a couple takedowns. You'd have to worry about Joaquim's BJJ, but it's not like he has a lot of submissions. Vince Pichel actually has horrible takedown defense, so.
Oh boy.
But it's not like Joaquim is something like he's going to rush in and do, try to land multiple takedowns. I think it's going to be a stand-up battle, and it could be pretty interesting for to see who lands the harder punch. I think that I'm leaning a little more towards Silva with it when it comes to the power. But both these guys are very durable, and they're both rosterable. I'm not sure if I would stack them. Maybe in a cash lineup, it's possible. But both these guys are definitely rosterable at their price.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Also, probably going to be more stand-up than anything. But if it goes to the ground, I mean, definitely. I'm thinking maybe Silva might have the edge. All right, going next. We've got the women's division, which was kind of absent last week at UFC 220. We didn't see any, and that's rare nowadays considering the women really bring it. I actually enjoy seeing the women's fights. And we've got Justine Kish versus Ji Young Kim. They got about equal records. I mean, I think Justine Kish is coming off that loss to Felice Herrig. And I know very little about Ji Young Kim, so she might be a new recruit for the UFC. What's your quick take on that one?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like I said earlier, same type of situation that we have with Sandhagen. I'm gonna have to look more into Ji-Yeon Kim's fighting record. I do believe she has lost to I can't remember the lady's name now, but let's see. But I can't. If Faith will mind, the lady that she lost to was Lucia Pudiova, who isn't necessarily the greatest fighter. She lost 53. She gave up 53 significant strikes, so she had 2 submission attempts with 1 pass. So I could see Justine Kish, she's a very gritty scrappy type fighter. It's not like she's she almost reminds me of Jessica Rose Clark from last week, where she's just durable. She's not going to quit. She has a lot of heart. She's going to stick her jab in your face, and she's just going to, she does the Holly Holm, she grunts when she punches type stuff. I think Chukagan does the same thing. She probably is going to have the grappling advantage, so she probably will take Kim down and probably grind her with some top control and some ground and pound. I couldn't see rostering Kish because I don't necessarily see a finish here unless something in fight video tells me that Kim is she tends to give up. So I couldn't see rostering Kish at 9,200, and Kim's salary is favorable at 7,000. It's the least amount on the card, but I just don't know if I could roster her. I mean, her last fight she only scored 30 points, and it was a decision loss. And Kish is one of those grinder out fighters, so it's one of those things where I wouldn't want to roster her.
Yeah, so you're thinking that might be a fade?
That's possible fade for both fighters, especially at Kish at 9,200. Unless I could find something that shows me that Kim is finishable. Yeah. So that's the only thing that would push me in that direction.
Wow, 9,200. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the highest you've ever seen anybody rostered at? I gotta say, because I've never seen 9,200. I've seen 91, but...
Bektik is 94, and I think... let's see, Gillespie on this card is 9,500, which we'll talk about later. I want to say Demetrius Johnson was close to 9,800.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy.
But, I mean, that's like almost a free square.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is fighting and anything could happen.
Yes. All right, so moving right along, this time's another women's bout in the strawweight division. Randa Marcos versus Juliana Lima. These are more notable fighters. So this fight should actually be quite the fight. They're both decent fighters. This one could go either way. Looks like I could have sworn Juliana Lima was at 135 at one point. So if she's cutting down, or she's cutting down hard. Good 20 pounds. But I mean, both of these girls have amazing experience already in the octagon. So it should make for a good fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it made for a fight of the night contender. Yeah, I can't right now. I'm probably leaning towards Marcos, who I think is actually more natural at this weight than Juliana Lima. I mean, that weight cut's got to be brutal. 20-pound cut is no fun for anybody. So I mean, that's right now on initial looks. I'm probably leaning towards Marcos, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, no, that it's funny that you say that you're leaning towards her just because of that. But I mean, Marcos is one of those win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I mean, she feels that she might have won her last fight against Grasso, which was a decision loss, but she actually wasn't active enough to win that fight. So I don't agree with her on that. But I could see her bouncing back and trying to put on a very strong performance, because I think both these ladies are probably fighting for a roster spot. I see Randa Marcos with the better grappling, the more aggressive takedowns. And Lima tends to be a little tentative if she gets punched. She sort of tends to slow down when she gets hit in the face. So, but, I mean, anything could happen inside the cage. Marcos' salary on DraftKings is 8,800, and Lima's salary is only 7,400. Even in Marcos' wins, she topped out at 78 points. Even at her last fight where she lost a decision to Grasso, she had 63. So even if this goes, I mean, I don't see Marcos finishing Lima on the ground or, within strikes. So it's possible that, it's going to go the distance. And it's probable that she could get close to 88 points if she gets enough significant strikes and maybe a couple takedowns, but it's very risky.
Yeah,
She'll definitely be lower owned. Um, Definitely on that one for sure.
yeah,
So
I have to agree with you there, especially with those prices. I'm not actually rethinking rostering, especially after you told me the pricing. Let's
yeah,
go further. So man, look, they got three women's fights in a row. Looks like they're making up for lost time already. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, there
Um,
was one fight canceled, women's fight canceled last week.
oh, that's what happened. Okay, I forget which one that is.
It was the Moroso and Morne fight. I can't remember how to say her name.
Let's see.
It was yeah, they don't even have it listed anymore.
Okay, so see, yeah, so let's move forward then. I guess on the man, there's a lot of Fox Sports One prelims at least, and then the main card only has four fights.
Hmm.
Interesting. Usually it's the other way around, but that's fine. Um, on Fox Sports with the next female fight, this one's going to be at 125 pounds again. Caitlin Chukagian. I hope I said
Shokagan, yeah.
Chukagian versus Maria Romero Borella. Um, it's looking like this one's might. Sorry, now I'm having the brain fart. It took me a second. It's taking me a second. And all those the long names are boggling me on how to say them right. So yeah, no, we got another one. I don't know too much about these women to be honest. I looked at them. I'm like, I think Chuk again. I think I might have seen once before, but overall, I mean, this one just off of stats alone. I mean, you've got Chuk again at 9-1 at least, and you've got Mara Barella at 12-4 with one no contest. I mean, I'm kind of already leaning towards the fighter with the one loss, at least just at a glance.
Mhm.
With a small reach disadvantage, nothing really spectacular, notable about any of them stats wise.
Yeah.
This one I'll have to just kind of lean on you for your insight. Any ideas?
Yeah, so Chokagian is she's a high level striker, and Barella is a high level grappler. Um, Her last fight, she took her opponent down, and which was Kalindra Faria, and just subbed her in the first round. She set up a couple strikes to shoot in for the takedown, and then just basically body locked her, took her to the floor, and worked for the submission. Chokagan is a high volume striker. She has okay takedown defense. She got taken down multiple times, I think, by Liz Carmouche. Um, she has a win over Irene Aldana, who won last week, and also a win over Lauren Murphy.
Okay.
But I see, I like Ramiro Barella's fight game. I mean, her ta- her submissions are high level. I mean, the way she took the back and just worked for that rear naked was pretty slick. Um, it'll be interesting to see if Chukagan can stuff the takedown and stop it and just keep the fight standing. But I don't know if that's going to be possible, especially since her takedown defense is just a little bit above average. So roster wise, I would definitely take a flyer on Barella, especially at the salary. 7,500, you can easily work around that and maybe fit in some of these higher price fighters. And if she is able to get the fight down early and get that early submission like she did in her last fight, you're looking at another 100 points.
Okay. Not too shabby. Yeah, I'm noticing that in this card there's a lot of high priced fighters, so that's my conflict right now. I'm trying to figure out who is best, especially who's more of a solid pick that I can count on. But right now a lot of these are you could go either way. Yeah, man,
Yeah,
I'm looking to make that money. on some of these picks, and I'm like, oh man, I'm split right down the middle, and then these guys are already high priced. I'm as a newcomer to DFS, I'm freaking out a little bit because I want to make sure I make some. I mean, thank goodness for your cheat sheet, so to speak, But good lord, sometimes I'm still like a little hesitant, but so far you haven't led me wrong. I mean, unless there's freak accidents like like UFC 220.
Yeah.
Thomas Almeida, why did you let me down?
Oh man, he was doing okay until he took that shin to the face, and then once that shin to the face happened, all of a sudden he was like, you could tell he was already noodle legged. He had chicken legs all over the place, and I was just like, oh no, this is the beginning of the end because he's just gonna jump all over him. Oh, and Font just capitalized on it, man. He saw the blood in the water, and just like a shark, he just didn't stop.
He must have heard us talking about him last week. That's what it was. He got upset. But going forward, the next fight. I'm sorry. The next fight on the prelims actually is one I'm actually excited about because I've been following this fighter Mirsad Bektik for a while since his debut. It just so happened that every time I'd be watching UFC, he would come on. I mean, he's a consistent fighter against Godofredo Pepe, and I'm going to tell you right now, man, I'm biased. I automatically think Mirsad Bektik is going to run away with the win. From what I saw from Pepe, I didn't like it. I didn't like what I saw from Pepe. I think he tries to be wild, and it's kind of funny because even the announcers kind of called it. He says, I try to surprise my opponents, but for the last 3-4 fights in a row, he comes out and the first thing he does is a spinning wheel kick or something. Yeah. That's like that's actually
flying armbar.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God! Yeah.
But
seriously, what is this, WWE?
Yeah, and it's funny because Mirsad Bektik, he seems like such a well-rounded fighter, and it's kind of funny because the only reason, in my opinion, that he lost to Darren Elkins, and don't get me wrong, the damage is great. This is not taking away from the damage at all. I mean. In fact, he helped. But it was Mirsad Bektik that kind of put him on the highlight reel, just simply because of the fact that he covered Elkins in his own blood and split him open. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, if you watch Mirsad Bektik fight, dude, it's clean, it's crisp. I mean, this kid has tons of talent, and you know what? I think maybe that loss to Elkins kind of showed him what happens when you get to deep water. Because it just looked, Elkins had put some choice shots on him because the whole fight that was Bektik the entire time. There was Elkins very, very rarely had the advantage, but when he did, he took it. He took advantage immediately. And hey, props to Darren Elkins because that was I watched that fight twice because it was a good fight, but it's Elkins just has something in his fists, man. Don't be. I mean, have bricks for hands because he hit him from the weirdest angle and dropped him. So I think, before that, Bektik was undefeated and he was beating people in just a clean. You knew it was a decisive fashion. So I'm actually looking forward to him coming back into the win column. That's my opinion. I don't know if is he the favorite? And as well, what's his price?
Yeah, he's 9,400 on DraftKings, and he's a minus 620 favorite according to Vegas.
Whoa! Yes,
yeah, and Godofredo Pepe's salary 6,800. He's the lowest on DraftKings, and he's a plus 160 underdog.
Yeah, and if you don't know why, go watch his last fight against Shane Burgos. I mean, really, come on. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, mind you, he could probably kick my butt. But I just don't see how he got into the UFC with all the wild striking and crazy. It's like, dude, just learn to throw a jab, bro. Learn to come on.
It's weird because the basics is what really. If you see a lot of these high level fighters, they have stiff jabs.
Yeah.
And they just stick them right in their opponent's face. That's all they do.
Yeah,
just pop that jab out, and it's not like they're doing it to hurt anybody. They're just doing it for one, gauge distance, and two, to keep you from thinking, okay, I'm gonna get hit, boom. Oh, I'm gonna hit, boom, and then it's just nonstop. And then all of a sudden they come up with either that crazy uppercut or overhand right, or they shoot for a double leg takedown, or something. But they always just with that jab, it keeps you thinking.
Yes.
And a lot of these fighters don't even have that basic understanding of that striking ability. I mean, that's pugilist steps 101.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it's funny because, I'm not to keep harping, But the only reason Bektik lost that fight was because he decided to go where he was weakest, and even his weakest. But you know what? Even his grappling really isn't that weak. It's just he met a superior grappler in Elkins, and he could have just kept it on the feet and won that fight easily. And the thing was, he was just, you can see that Bektik was well rounded. I think on this one, he's probably polishing up. I would hope that in the wake of that loss, he polished up even his ground game even more. And his ground game was actually pretty solid. I mean, that's what got Elkins split open. Not his hands on the feet, but that nasty ground and pound that he had. So I think he's going to, cover up those little holes in his game and really be just a terror for Pepe. I see Pepe getting finished. No, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what all the signs are leading to. Roster-wise, I definitely will take a flyer on Bektik. Pepe, I'm not too sure on, but I mean, you never know. In a GPP, he could, if he gets lucky, because I mean, Bektik has shown that I think he almost quit in that fight against Elkins. Just because, like, when you hit Elkins with everything you have and he keeps coming, it sort of does something to, one, your psyche, and two, your will, right? So, like, you just literally, you're trying to you've ran through everybody. Then you run into a guy like Elkins, and then you're like, oh man, what is going on? All of a sudden, you start questioning everything. Like, wait a second, do I really have power? And where's my cardio? This guy keeps coming. He's like a machine.
He's a scary dude. Darren Elkins is a scary dude, and I mean, I'm hoping that didn't, because you know what? Once a guy shows like lack of heart or gets taken down in that way, it does one of two things. You're either gonna come back stronger because you're so upset that you lost, considering or it ends up showing what you're made of. So this is either where Bektik is gonna shine or he's gonna falter. Sadly, like I said, it happens more often that once people go down the way they do, they falter. So I really like this guy. I think he has potential to be in the top 5 in that division. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that he bounces back. I really enjoy watching him fight. I mean, that's the epitome of just a solid fighter. I hope nothing changed in the interim. But moving forward, to finish off the prelims, we've got Eric Koch and Bobby Green. Now, both of these guys are kind of like up and down for me. I mean, I watched a little fight video. Eric Koch is just, to me, it seems just kind of like a head case. He's win one, lose one, win one, lose one. And it's not against any really, really definitive, like, great competition. His last fight was he lost it to Clay Guida. But Clay Guida has gone under a kind of a reinvention as of late, so I don't even blame him. Guida's already a high volume, high intensity fighter, and I think he's just getting better now. I think where when he changed, I think he went over to Jackson Winklejohn, and he's shown definitive improvement.
He came over to Team Alpha Male.
Is that what it was? Team Alpha Male? Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, I guess he just found his niche, and they were able to take his tools and really put him in the right spot, because Guida's quietly but surely been really working his way up the ranks. So, he beat Koch, I think, in the last fight last time in June. I don't know if Guida's been doing anything since then. And then, I mean, let's talk about Bobby Green. Bobby Green is an exciting fighter to watch. I mean, he had like an 8-fight win streak, and he beat some notable talent. I mean, Jacob Volkman, James Krause, Pat Healy, Josh Thompson. I mean, he's beaten some decent guys, and not ones that were on their way out or anything. But then now he's been on almost, I mean, you could say a 4-fight losing streak. I mean, this one's probably for his job, because, I mean, he lost to Edson Barboza, which is definitely no slouch. Then you've also got, he lost to Dustin Poirier, which Dustin Poirier, he's also been on a tear as of late. Just, also somebody else who's reinvented themselves. Rashid Magomedov is another one of his losses, but he lost to him a split decision. Rashid Magomedov is kind of one of these rising stars from, from the other side of the world.
Yeah, Dagestan.
Yeah, another Dagestani fighter. And then he fought to a draw with Lando Venata. Which is almost, it seems like nothing against Venata, but just seems like a downgrade in talent that he would go to a draw. So I don't know if these losses have had an effect on Green or what.
That draw was sort of controversial because Lando technically won that fight. They took a point away from Lando for I think it was like an illegal strike.
Okay.
So they took points away when it should have been just a warning.
Okay.
Without that point removal, he would have lost that fight. So that would have been five
Yeah.
fights in a row,
And
or
exactly, yeah.
four. That would
I'm
have been
glad
his
you brought
fourth
that
loss in
up.
a row.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, that's what I was reading a little bit. I got to see some of Bobby Green's earlier fights, and he was exciting to watch, man. I mean, he would TKO people, he would submit them. He's very well rounded, but on this one, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Eric Koch, I'm not really, I don't know, really keen on him per se. Like I said, he's win. Technically, if we were going by his record, he's poised to win one coming up. You know what I mean? The way he fights, I guess. I'm kind of leaning towards Green just because the pressure's on him, to
Mhm.
win, and maybe he can do something to polish up his game a little bit, or just get back in that win column because he surely needs it. Um, this one's kind of a pick 'em for me, but I'm leaning towards Green. I
Mhm.
guess just because Eric Cote, I've never really seen much from him. I guess that was really like, oh man, this guy, I don't know, seems like a head case to me. Could be wrong.
Yeah,
Uh,
both these guys are head cases, man. To be honest with you,
yes.
um, like Green has like baby mama drama, and I mean not to get into his personal life or anything like that, but he's got other stuff going on, and I'm not sure if his head's completely in the fight game anymore. Um, Coach, on the other hand, or Coke, on the other hand, he calls his fan base cokeheads. So yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It just makes you sigh. I mean, I don't even like saying it because it's just
yeah. Listen, I
like I'm
mean,
just like I shake my head, just going, God, dude, come on, man. Like we're not in high school anymore. You're supposed to be a pro. Come on, man. I mean, I understand your last name is Koch, but
yeah.
like you could have went off like the rich Koch brothers, like I'm the lost Koch's brother son or something. You didn't have to go Koch heads.
No,
You
yeah.
know.
No, this is
But from a
mhm.
fight standpoint, this is like a fade for me. I'm not impressed with either fighter, and Bobby Green salary's 8,500. That's a little inflated for me, especially coming in. I mean, three losses and a draw.
Yeah.
Not exciting. Coke, on the other hand, coming off a loss to Guida. Yeah, he did have a win over Campbell, which was a second round submission. He had a first round loss, which he was knocked out by Cruikshank. He had a first round win, KO TKO against Oliveira. That was back in 2014, though. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not like it was recent.
Thank,
So
thank you for saying that because I was about to say I was like, yeah, but those are years ago, and the fight game is not kind to anybody, especially with that low level of activity. So he's kind of
I
been on and off and on and off, and maybe he's had
he never.
injuries or who knows. But yeah,
Oh,
that fight to me, it doesn't really scream that exciting to me just because of the fact that I mean, it kind of seems like neither one they're there to kind of collect the paycheck and
yeah.
but not
Like I
not
mean, if that's what they're fighting for, that's not.
exactly.
A lot of these guys are in here hungry because they want to make a name for themselves. They want to build up some fame. They want to try to secure their family. With with
Yeah.
with a future, as opposed to just coming in and going, what are you gonna pay me 10 G's? All right, let me get in there.
Yeah, I mean, hell,
You know.
let's exactly. So I'm with you on that one. I mean, and sadly, like I said, there are some good fights. There's potential for greatness on this card. I'm really looking forward to see whether it comes out because sometimes there's great cards that come out of nowhere, and then there's
Mhm.
other ones that come. This one seems like a good card, but it could
Yeah.
also be a snooze fest just because if people didn't come hungry, they're not gonna put on a show. And there's certainly, like I said, my biggest problem is kind of picking, especially with like I said, the high price of some of these fighters in DFS right now to put
Yeah.
a solid thing. I mean, that's why I'm really looking forward to your write up on Friday, just because I really want to go and see where I guess the strengths lie on this card to hopefully get everybody a little paid. But let's go
Yeah.
right to
I only see two fights that I'm like not even interested in, and that's the Coke Green fight, and then the Kish Kim
and
fight is really the only ones that and the Marcos Lima fight. Those three are like the only ones that I'm like definitely the Cook Green fight. I'm fading. There's no way I'd roster either fighter, but the other two, Kish just because of her salary. I mean, if it was lower, it'd be a little more workable. But other than that, I mean, the fights are very intriguing so far. I mean, and then it's only going to get a little better as we get into the main.
Gotcha. So going in, speaking of the main, let's talk about the last four fights on the card, the Fox main card. This should be actually fun, free fights to watch on TV. It's going to be good. We got Drew Dober versus Frank the Crank Camacho at 155. It looks like this one's more for the lightweights again, except for the main event. Honestly, who you got? I'm just gonna go straight into it like that. This one, I'm leaning on you. I heard a lot of chatter about Drew Dober, but and Frank Camacho, I know very little about. I know you spoke about him earlier.
Yeah, so I think they're fighting at 170. I don't think it's 155. I think they both had weight cutting issues, so I think that they decided
Oh,
before the card or when the card was announced that they were going to actually fight at 170 as opposed to 155. But I could be wrong. I'll
yeah.
look more into that and I'll have that in the premium article on Friday. But Dober, yeah,
UFC.com needs to get their stuff together, man.
yeah.
Making me a liar out here. No, I'm just
You'll
kidding.
you'll see that from time to time. They have wrong stats, they have wrong records, so you can't necessarily definitively hold on to what UFC.com has. So
Gotcha.
because they have interns, and those guys probably interns aren't getting paid, so they're just sort of winging it. Oh, what he needs numbers? All right, he's 37-1. But yeah, no, I think there was something about that. I'll read into it more, but I believe it was they're fighting at 170.
Okay.
But yeah, Frank Camacho's coming off a fight of the night performance against Damian Brown, where they literally stood there and slugged each other like over 100 significant strikes each. And Frank Camacho came out victorious on that one. I mean, it even easily could have been a draw, just because of just how insane the fight was. I mean, I don't think anybody would have been disappointed if it was a draw because Damian Brown threw 104 strikes. He had 2 takedowns. And Frank Camacho had 154 strikes with 1 takedown. I mean, they both had high output when it came to that. He has his only other octagon appearance was against Li Jingliang. That was at 170, and Li Jingliang is a huge 170. I think he walks around like 190, 195, and he cuts down to 170. So he was the bigger man on that, and he ended up going the distance with I believe. Let me see. I think he went the distance with Li Jingliang. He lost by decision, and so I mean he's used to fighting bigger guys. Mm-hmm. And Drew Dober, I think, and him are going to be fairly comparable in size and weight, even at 170. And both of them are durable. So I could see this as a possible fight of the night candidate. Both of them have decent takedown defense. I think it's just going to be who's going to be able to stay standing. I think it's just going to be literally both of them are going to just wing, as much as they have against each other and just go crazy.
Cool.
So
anything
Camacho's.
Notable? I mean, anything that gives somebody else the edge. I mean, I know Camacho looks like a reach advantage, like a total reach advantage on Dober by about 3 inches, give or take. Is that anything that play a factor?
I don't know if that'll actually be too much of a difference, but I think the only thing that Frank Camacho does tend to get hit more, but he reminds me of another Darren Elkins type fighter. Like you just hit him with everything you have, and he keeps coming. So it's either you're going to break your will and just like not understand why you're hitting him with everything you have and he keeps coming, or if it's just one of those things where, it's just going to be nonstop like Rock'em Sock'em Robots for 3 rounds.
You know what? I mean, despite the impending brain damage, a Rock'em Sock'em Robots fight would actually be a lot of fun to watch.
And like Dober's salary is $8,900, so it's fairly high.
Yeah.
He's a -175 favorite according to Vegas. Camacho's salary is $7,300. And he's a +155 underdog. I definitely could take a flyer on Camacho in a GPP tourney just because of the fact that I know, for one, he's durable, and 2, he's going to have solid punching output. He probably could mix in a takedown or 2. I think both their grappling is probably going to cancel out each other, so it could be just a stand-up battle for the rest of the 15.
I'm actually leaning towards Camacho considering that in his price. All right, so going to the next one. We got Jordan Rinaldi versus Gregor Gillespie at, again, lightweight, hopefully, if UFC.com is to be believed. now you got me, like, questioning myself. I mean, we got Jordan Rinaldi, seems nothing notable that I can see here. Gregor Gillespie is undefeated, at least from what the stats say. Let's just go right into it. What do you think?
Yeah, so Gillespie is actually the highest priced fighter on the card, 9,500. He's a minus 580 favorite, and Rinaldi's salary 6,700. He's a plus 440 underdog. Uh, I think Rinaldi is actually a hometown boy in this for this card. So, with him fighting in his hometown, he's probably going to want to be probably put on a show and probably give his best performance. But going up against a very aggressive grappler with strong takedowns, who's durable and has like insane cardio, it's a very tough feat to tackle. I could see possibly putting Rinaldi into a GPP lineup as a just in case or as a one-off, just so you can fit all the other high-priced fighters in. Mm-hmm. I'd also even be willing to stack this fight in a GPP, because if you put them both together, what is that, 1,600? So you're using only 8,000 salary per fighter if you look at it that way, and then it leaves you a lot of flexibility. But at the same time, I do feel Gillespie has the upper advantage here, especially with the aggressive takedowns. If he lands 4 or 5 takedowns, I mean, you're looking at 25 points already right there. If he gets an early win, you're looking at 90 to plus 50 points, 40, 50 points, depending on the round that either A gets stopped in, or if it goes to decision, you're like in a plus 30. So you're already sitting pretty good. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pay off his salary unless he gets an early finish. At 9,500, you're expecting at least 110 to 120 when it comes to like completely paying off his salary.
Okay.
So it's going to be a little rough, but I mean it's going to be a fairly competitive fight, but I do give the edge to Gillespie.
Okay, sounds good. All right, now I guess the co-main event, or the second to last fight on the card. This one has me intrigued to a degree. We've got Dennis Bermudez and Andre Touchy-Feely. I don't know, his name is hilarious to me. I thought that was so witty.
Yeah, right.
I know it sounds terrible. I was like, man, that's pretty funny. I laugh about it every time I see it. And we've got, go figure, this is another one. I think at 145 or one. And this one is interesting because both of these guys haven't. They're notable. You've got Andre Feely, who's coming off a win against Artem Lobov, which is, Conor McGregor's like right-hand man, I guess, who gets all these great fights, but just can't seem to pick up a win. And then, he was just basically making Andre Feely look better. And not to mention there was controversy at the end because Conor said something that he shouldn't have said. And got caught saying it, but whatever. Let's move forward. Feely looks like he's kind of like an untapped talent. Like, I don't know, there's something missing that he just needs to put it together, because he's coming off of back and forth, up one, down one, up one, down one. He's not consistent. I mean, but the people he's lost to, however, aren't exactly slouches.
Right, yeah, he's lost to some notable fighters.
Yeah, he lost to the champ, Max Holloway, one of my favorite fighters to watch. And then he lost, funny enough, to Godofredo Cacho-Pepe. I don't know how he lost to that one, but who knows?
It was a submission. That's why he got submitted.
And then let's see what else. Yair Rodriguez, who he kind of, Yair Rodriguez is still a work in progress, but Yair Rodriguez is somebody that if he puts that same kind of tenacity that he put against BJ Penn on somebody else, against everybody else, I mean, he's looking to be a big star. Calvin Kattar, I think, who fought last weekend, and then he beat Artem Lobov. So I mean, he's either setting himself to be an awesome gatekeeper for the division, or he's gonna start putting it all together. As for Bermudez, he's also a notable name. He's put on some good fights. He's actually on a 2-fight losing streak right now, but also he's fought some decent people, and he beat Clay Guida. But this was 3 years ago. He lost to Jeremy Stevens. I mean, he lost to the bully Ricardo Lamas, another fighter that's fun to watch. But then you got some other ones. He beat Tatsuya Kawajiri. To me, Kawajiri's kind of on his way out. Rony Becerra, and then he came back when Chang he basically got fed to Chang Sung-jung, the Korean Zombie.
Yep.
And also go figure, Darren Elkins. Here he is again. This guy
There he
just
is.
loves spoiling people's nights. So I'm an Elkins fan at this point. I mean, he's killing them. But
Hey, that's my boy. I keep telling everybody, don't
man.
sleep on my boy.
Yeah. So I mean, he
Everybody
lost a
keeps
split
counting that dude out.
Yeah, so this one is looking to really kind of put some note on some people. I mean, obviously Bermuda's is a little higher ranked, but I mean this one could also go either way. That's my take. I'm kind of leaning towards Bermudez, but I don't know. It could go again. I haven't seen enough on Philly to really, and then beating Artem Lobov doesn't impress me. You know what I mean? It doesn't show me like, oh man, gotta look out for that one. Like it's so it's just Artem Lobov, just kind of like a plotting guy that the only reason he hasn't lost his job is because of Conor. He hasn't really done anything special except for grind out decisions that were probably not supposed to even go his way. But that's a whole other topic we can talk about another day. What's your take?
Yeah, man. So Touchy Feely's salary is 7,600. He was a plus 135 underdog. Bermuda's 8,600 salary, and he's a minus 155 favorite. Now, honestly, if you have watched any of Bermuda's fights, there's one compelling thing that happens every time he fights. Do you know what that is?
What's that?
He gets knocked down.
Oh.
He gets knocked down every fight. Every single fight.
And it's Bermudez.
Dennis the Menace Bermudez. He tends to eat a shot that just sort of drops him to a knee. And earlier in his career, he would bounce right back up and just be tenacious and just like grind for a takedown and, work for top control to where he's being able to mentally recover from the knockdown. That's starting to get a lot far fewer in between. When he gets knocked down, he gets a little more jelly-legged, and he gets a little more jelly-legged.
Yeah,
and Feely's got some pretty solid kicks, especially head kicks. And Dennis Bermudez has shown in his previous fights that he's susceptible to a head kick. So I'm for a tournament, I'm actually leaning a little towards Feely. For a cash game, it's risky to say Bermudez just because of how up and down Feely is. But if you just go off of the up and down, I'd like to see Feely string together a second win. Like, I'd like to see him actually get that second win and, actually win 2 in a row. I mean, and, losing to Calvin Kattar, going decision to Calvin Kattar, I mean, that's a feat. I mean, we saw what he did to Burgos this past weekend. And Burgos is no slouch, man.
No, definitely not. Burgos is actually a clean fighter, man.
Yeah, and Kattar showed, and is one of the fighters that I picked to win. And he proved me right. I mean, because he has a lot cleaner striking. He had a little bit more power, and he was able to connect with that clean shot. And Feely took him to decision. So I mean.
So it looks like just Feely, like I said, Feely's just looking to turn on, from what you're telling me. I mean, it is right, because I've noticed that Bermudez's fights do get a little more exciting, and as I'm just recalling it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, because it's up and down. But dude, you take enough hits to the head like that, dude, you're gonna be punch drunk the rest of your days, and I'm like, that's not good. Bermudez needs to actually maybe stop getting hit. That would help.
Yeah.
But
and the other thing too, I'm seeing too with Team Alpha Male here in Sacramento is I think these guys are starting to put together actual fight plans on how to succeed in the ring, in the cage, and I think they're working with each other instead of against each other, and fighting for one purpose, and that's trying to create a champion. And I'm not saying Feely's going to be that guy, but I could see a guy like maybe Josh Emmett. I could see Josh Emmett fighting for a strap probably in the next year or so. But at the same time,
he has a fight actually. Josh Emmett has a fight that against another notable fighter coming up sooner than later. I think is that against Darren Elkins? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Darren Elkins and Josh Emmett just signed for a fight. I'm not sure, but now I gotta look it up. But besides that, because I mean, let me see, Josh. I'm actually gonna do.
Oh no, you're thinking Jeremy Stevens.
That's who it is. There he goes. You're right. You're right. Sorry, it was too soon. Too soon. But yes, Jeremy, that's gonna be a heck of a fight. That is
That's
gonna
gonna be
be
a barn.
something I am really looking forward to. Josh Emmett is really on the come up, and at the same time, you are completely right. Team Alpha Males went from kind of like a mediocre fight team to really putting
Yeah,
it all together. And the great part is that they're doing it without Dwayne Ludwig. They're actually
yeah.
putting it together, and then they got these guys, and yeah, iron sharpens iron. So
Hmm.
these guys, I mean, you know what? You've in the span of a conversation, you've almost swayed me towards Philly just because of that. I mean, he's going up against notable killers, and look in the division that look who's there. It's Cody
Yeah,
Garbrandt. Garbrandt, oh,
right.
he's at 145. Yeah,
Yeah, and so well, and like I said,
or
this is this is
135.
this is purely a tournament play. Andre Fili.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's a lock or anything like that because I mean Bermuda's a formidable fighter and he's fought some high level competition, but the style of the fight and the fighters that are going to be coming into the cage, it sort of fits a Fili victory. So, but at the same time, I mean, if he comes in and he's not taking the fight serious, but I mean, you never know. I mean, this could be the turning. This last couple fights could have been his turning point, and it could be him pushing him into a better mindset when it comes to addressing the fight. But from a daily fantasy standpoint, I definitely could take a GPP flyer on Feely.
Okie dokie. Well, yeah, I could totally see that too as well. Like I said, I'm still learning from the master, so hopefully, I'll be giving you a little bit more in depth or challenging you a little bit more sometime sooner than later. But let's go to that main event, man. That's also another interesting fight because this was pretty much for probably the next middleweight contender. That's why people sleep on these like freebie fights on the weekends, but some of these are
Hmm.
setups for big matchups later down the line. And we've got Derek Brunson versus Ronaldo Jacare Souza. Now,
Hmm.
me knowing, in the jiu-jitsu world, Jacare's a legend. I mean, mind
Hmm.
you, I think if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. He's also, I think, a Strikeforce champion at one point. He's got a little bit of
Correct.
a rivalry with Luke Rockhold, and
Hmm.
they've gone back and forth with some wars. I mean, Jacare is no joke, and he's like I said, a legend in jiu-jitsu. So, and in the sport,
Yeah.
he's a fun fighter to watch. He's very well rounded. This one, however, this one almost plays a little bit more to Derek Brunson. He's in his hometown. He's
Hmm.
a hometown boy of North Carolina. He is actually, I mean, he's done very well. I mean, he's taken down some people, mind you, not anybody at the real top of the division, but he had a 5-fight win streak going in. Again, he beat Ed Herman, Lorenz Larkin, Ron Carneiro, Uriah Hall, but Uriah Hall's a known head case. But then then that got snapped by Robert Whitaker, who is now your interim champ. So I'm
Hmm.
sure he's looking for revenge on that one. But he did get TKO'd in the first round against him. So I don't know. Then he fought Anderson Silva, and it seemed
Hmm.
like he was more of a tune-up fight for Anderson, which is weird because I mean the way Anderson Silva's been fighting lately, you know. It should have been kind of a win for him. He could have been able to pad his stats a little bit. But now he's on a 2-fight win streak against not so notable competition, Daniel Kelly and unfortunately, Lyoto Machida. But Lyoto Machida is also that guy that's never been the same after he got popped,
Yeah.
from USADA. But then you've got Jacare, who on the opposite end, he was riding a 2-fight win streak against Pete. Actually, he had like a 7-fight win streak where he had beaten Brunson in that streak. Also, Yushin Okami, Francis Carmon. Back in the day, I mean, I don't know what happened to Francis Carmon, but Carmon was also riding a really nice streak. Chris
Hmm.
Camozzi. I mean, the only people that Jacare's lost to are the guys at the top of the ladder. He lost to
Hmm.
Yoel Romero by a split decision, which was questionable, to
Right.
anybody who was watching. And then he beat Vitor Belfort, but meh. Vitor again post USADA. Vitor's nothing to really write home about. But you got Tim Bosch, who's also somebody who's a solid fighter. At any given day can spoil your night. So Tim Bosch, I actually like him. And then he lost again to the champ, Robert
Right.
Whitaker. So, but he got TKO'd. Robert Whitaker is a machine, dude. That guy's an
Right.
animal, and so both of these guys are looking to get back into the ring with him and maybe change up
Right.
their game plan. This one, man, tough to call. I mean, it's like I said, it leans towards Brunson just because Brunson's really been picking up steam again, and
Right.
he wants to avenge that loss. So this is a great opportunity for him. Jacare, I don't think is really known as much of a knockout artist, but more a submission machine. Whereas Brunson finishes fights. First round, that's it. You know what I mean? And he's got the
Yeah.
power. I don't see him going into deep water very often. This is a 5 round fight. My take, I don't know. It could go either way. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'll do a little bit more research, I guess, and get back to you this weekend. But what's your initial take?
Yeah, man, this rematch is 5 years in the making. And he knocked Brunson out in the first round. I mean, it was no doubt about it.
Did he?
And you're right. Yeah, yeah, he knocked him out.
Oh,
It's
you talk about
Stratford.
Whitaker. Okay.
No, Jacare knocked Brunson out in the first round.
Did he? I thought.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. He did.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm thinking something else. I thought they went to decision or something. Okay.
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, Brunson's definitely looking to to get revenge on that one.
And it's going to be in front of his hometown. So he's going to probably want to put on a better fight. And like you're correct. Jacare and Luke Rockhold have a little bit of history because Luke Rockhold was one who took Jacare's Strikeforce belt. So definitely that's going to be an interesting fight if it comes to fruition. Yeah, he did lose to Yoel Romero. I mean, Yoel Romero is an Olympic wrestler, man. That dude he's on another planet when it comes to grappling. I mean, he's a freak. Plus, you never know if he's clean, but you never know how those Brazilian doctors are
Yes.
able to dance around. It's just like those Russian fighters, the Russian Olympic team, they're sharing each other's pee.
Oh God.
But no, man, this fight is very intriguing. I really like this fight. Jacare, his salary is 8,400, and he's a -165 favorite. Brunson's salary is 7,800. He's a +145 underdog. Hopefully Brunson has learned from the blitzing, rushing in style with his chin out in front. Just with like a big, easy button.
Yeah.
The only difference that I seen watching video is, yes, they both lost to Whitaker, but when Jacare took Whitaker's best shot, he kept scrambling. He kept trying to fight. When Brunson took Whitaker's best shot, he took a knee and he waited for the ref to stop it.
Oh.
So to me, yes, he took less damage, and maybe it was one of those things where he was like, maybe I'll live to fight another day. But at the same time, you're in the cage because you're going to get hit. And when he got hit, he went down to a knee and said, no mas.
Oh.
But he didn't necessarily say no mas. I mean, he waited for this to stop it. So I'll give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt, that he was injured more than it looked. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think a lot of people are counting Jacare out, and I could see, a lot of people trying to ride that hype train of Derek Brunson and, hoping that he's going to push for or come in real blitzy and just.
Yeah, I mean it depends, but Jacare, like I said, Jacare is no slouch. I mean, me on a personal note, I'm leaning towards Jacare, but Brunson's got more in his favor currently. You know what I mean? Like he's at hometown. I mean, very rarely do you see somebody get completely knocked out or anything. And then they've even been writing articles about. But you know what? I'm starting to realize that the UFC hype train needs to get derailed sometimes, or I can't always listen to it. Last week, like I said, the Francis Ngannou hype train is a perfect example of that, and it was. The people counted out Stipe Miocic, and you could tell, look what happened. Now they've got a PO champ because of the fact that they barely tried to promote him, and he didn't even want Dana to put the belt on him. Did you see that snub?
Yeah.
Basically, when he's like, no. He gave it to his coach, and his coach put the belt around him, and that's a fight that they're going to have. And it you know what? A fighter's pride is a big deal, especially considering. And then, I don't know if he just beat the snot out of Ngannou just to kind of prove the point or something. Maybe that's what he needed to win because Nagano's an animal, and he's going to come back strong.
He connected with some shots. I mean, he just didn't have an answer for the takedowns. I mean, it was just one of those fights where, Stipe definitely showed that's why he's the champ.
Oh,
I mean,
hands down.
I mean, it definitely he proved to a lot of people, including myself, to not count him out.
Yeah.
I mean, because I only had him in one lineup
Yeah.
of the three, and that was the only lineup that cashed.
Actually, I think same
I
here.
was like, I was like, man,
Oh,
why did I buy into the BS, man?
exactly, man. We got to be like in a bubble or something because usually our picks are pretty all right. But yeah, every now and then that
Yeah,
hype gets you. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna do more research. I mean, like I said, on a personal note, Jacare seems to me like he's more well-rounded than Brunson, but Brunson's in hometown. He's been working on his game. He's riding on a win streak as well. He's trying to make sure he gets revenge. There's a lot going for him in that route. But what is real quick? I guess before we head out, what are their price ranges? Who's the underdog? I guess in this one.
Oh, I thought I said that. Jacare's salary is 8,400. He's a minus 165 favorite.
Okay.
Brunson's salary is 7,800. He's a plus 145 underdog.
Okay.
Um,
So
I could see, if you were to want to be contrarian, or not necessarily contrarian, but if you wanted to do like if you're doing an A and B lineup, do have one Jacare and one Brunson. If you're torn, um, I could see Jacare possibly because his salary is not necessarily the highest, and I could see same thing with Brunson. I could see their ownership being pretty high. I'm not saying they're going to be chalky, but I could see them in the 25 to 30 percentile range.
okay. Alrighty. Well, anything else you want to add before we head on out of here, Wig?
Yeah, real quick, for the premium members on wisestake.com, I'm working on creating some value tools to help us better interpret salary to DFS output. So I'm going to try to have that completed by this week's card, but I'm definitely going to have it before the next pay-per-view event, which is UFC 221.
Oh, dude, I'm excited about those tools. You were telling me about that. That seems like a lot of fun. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Hey
So,
guys, if you guys don't know, Wigsplitter's been working on this thing for a little while now, and when it comes to fruition, it's gonna be something fun. You're gonna wanna join the Wise Take Nation with that. That's gonna automatically improve your odds, and just with
yeah.
Wigsplitter alone is worth the price of admission, and then he's giving you more value for that. I would highly recommend you join us. So far, it's just fun playing with Wigsplitter. He usually doesn't miss, man. And usually, like I said, the fight game is crazy, but Wigsplitter's a constant. I'll tell you that. And
And then,
so I guess that being said, thank you guys for watching early this morning. If you liked what you saw, smash that like button. Let us know. Hit the subscribe button so you catch us all the time with all our podcasts. Make sure you check in with the other wise members of the Wise Take Nation for NBA, golf, MLB's. I'm eventually coming back soon. We've got football, you name it. Please, thanks for listening to us. Thanks for watching. Give us a review. Hit us up on Twitter. Like I said, I'm at lstevo at L underscore Steve underscore O. And you've got Wigsplitter at Jeffpo, JEFPO. And as always, have fun, make that money, and be safe out there, guys. We will see you this weekend for a detailed breakdown of UFC Fight Night, Jacare versus Brunson 2. Take care.
peace.